think it's there. In light of your description of the current age of the Spirit, particularly about Christianity, any comments about the direction of Roman Catholicism, particularly under the current Pope? And we have 5 questions by my count about the Pope's overture to the Anglicans. Comments?
I think we see what I describe as the change in the nature of religiousness being played out in a very dramatic way in this oldest and most venerable of Christian churches, the Roman Catholic Church. For example, when the history of 20th century Christianity is written, I think 20th century Catholicism is written, I think some of the major figures are going to be Pope John the 23rd, who called the Second Vatican Council and really asked the leaders of the entire church around the world to make the changes in the church which would make it possible to voice the gospel in a credible way, given the changes that he saw were going on, as a very wise old man. Another figure that who will be remembered, I think, already is a significant one, is Thomas Merton. Thomas Merton, the great Roman Catholic Benedictine Trappist, contemplative, and writer, who you may recall died in a Buddhist monastery in Thailand, where he was praying and meditating with the Buddhist monks, and who kept telling us in his final works that when you go deep into the spiritual well at the heart of Christianity or Buddhism, then the waters begin to flow together. He was convinced of that. The other one I have to say, well, I think 2 more, talking about the Catholic Church. One is Dorothy Day, founder of the Catholic Worker Movement, who, of all the people in the 20th century, perhaps lived more of a Christ-like existence, living down the Lower East Side in New York with the hungry and the homeless and the unemployed, and simply being there with them, sheltering them, listening to them, feeding them, inspiring them. And the other, of course, is Archbishop Romero, perhaps the single emblematic figure of liberation theology, who started as a very, very conservative, ultra-conservative Catholic prelate, and because of the suffering and of his people in El Salvador, led the way toward a new understanding of Catholic Christianity's liberative core, and what standing on the side, what they called the preferential option for the poor, for those who have been left out and the losers in life, which I still think is the most important of all the theological tendencies of the 20th century, whether Catholic or non-Catholic. Now, just a word or two about Pope Benedict. I think Benedict really has the idea that he needs to circle the wagons and make the Catholic Church something which is defendable and clear, not suffering any kind of losses around the edges. But you have to remember that Benedict came into his role as the Pope with a very serious series of crises on his hand. When he looked around from his palace there on the Tiber at the Catholic Church around the world, what did he see? He looked at Europe and virtually gave up on it. He said, Europe is gone in secularization, not much that can be done. He looked at South America, where he saw a hemorrhaging of Roman Catholics into evangelical Protestant and Pentecostal churches, and the ones who were staying in the Catholic Church were embracing liberation theology, something he wasn't too fond of either. So that continent didn't look too well. He looked at America and saw Catholics organizing lay groups and demanding some kind of voice in their church here. That wasn't something that he could stomach too easily. So looking all around the world, it didn't look like a particularly promising future for the Catholic Church. He had to make a decision, and the decision he apparently has made, which I wish he had not, however, is a kind of circling of the wagons and a clamping down, and also apparently an effort to rally into the Catholic Church elements in other churches who would agree with this need or this tactic, this tactic of circling the Christian wagons against all of the antagonists. And I think that probably had to do with the invitation to disgruntled Anglicans to come in to a kind of a side door into the Catholic Church. I don't think very many will do that. Even suppose 1 million do. I mean, when Benedict is heading a church that has 1 billion people, 1 million doesn't even amount to, I don't know, what's it, 1/10 of 100th of 1%, something like that. It's not very much. So it's a signal. Maybe it's a signal also from Pope Benedict to those within his own church that he's going to hang tough and isn't going to put up with any kind of softening of the line. Now, I think that that tactic is self-defeating, and that we will see major changes in the Catholic Church, and that it could well be that those few Anglicans who do decide to come in, now I thought, why not open the door to Southern Baptists? Why not Missouri Synod Lutherans while you're at it? Let's get them all together there. But remember, the priests who will, and bishops from the Anglican Church who will come in are married and will continue to be married, and will therefore introduce the possibility into the Catholic Church of a married priesthood, which a lot of people have been waiting around for a very long time. So it may have repercussions that were not anticipated, but let us wait and see.
A number of our questioners in the audience raise issues around fundamentalism.